This budget is, it's interesting to see the emphasis on renewable energy and green energy in this budget. Just yesterday, we had a session with Jay Asundi of C-STEP, where he spoke about the energy conundrum, especially in the Indian context. And one of the things we saw in that is that globally, the energy sector accounts for almost 70% of greenhouse gas emissions. So it's very clear that to move to a greener world and to fulfill our aims of becoming net zero by 2070, India must have an energy transition. And of course, the country is moving towards this. Given that high ambition, the budgetary speech by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman was not very high on this aspect. I mean, the government has made an outlay of 35,000 crores, and of which close to 20,000 crores is for the National Green Hydrogen Mission, which is very important. And there's a lot of talk about battery energy storage systems, which is important. But if we are to move towards this, 2070 net zero, we will obviously have to scale up this from year to year and increase this in the next few budgets. There are a couple of other things. One which I found very interesting was that there's a lot of focus on mangroves and on restoration of other kinds of ecosystems. For instance, there is a lot of focus on natural farming, facilitating 1 crore farmers to adopt natural farming and to reduce their reliance on fertilizers and pesticides. This is very important not just for greenhouse gas emissions, but also for improving the quality of our water bodies, because these fertilizers and pesticides leach into them, and for improving reducing the loss of our pollinators, which are rapidly getting depleted because of an overuse of pesticides. So these are things which will have important spillover effects. Similarly, the focus on mangroves is very good to see, and especially if there's going to be mangrove plantation and there's going to be restoration of mangrove habitats and the biodiversity restoration in these habitats. This is very important because this will have spillover effects of climate adaptation as well as mitigation, as well as livelihood opportunities and biodiversity. So these are the kinds of things India should be following. That said, it's surprising that there's no mention of reducing urban air pollution in this budget, because last year also there was quite a large outlay, which is even larger than the previous years. But this year there's no mention of it. That does not, of course, mean that there's no allocation, but there's absolutely no mention of this. And we know that 7 of the 10 most polluted cities in India are already, 7 of the 10 most polluted cities in the world are in India. So this is a really serious issue, and we need quite a bit of focus on it. So yes, it's a promising budget on many fronts, and it's also a mixed bag, and we need to see how these processes get moved ahead, because this year is, in fact, the next few years are critical for India to really, and the world, to meet any hope of staying within 1.5 degrees centigrade global warming overall. And if we don't do this, we'll have multiple tipping points that unfortunately will get triggered. So let's hope we can actually get some action on many of these fronts together with this budget.